I can't use my own voice today because the neighbors are having a karaoke day, sounding like this right now. But I wanted to create a short video in regards to Briar finally reaching living legend. There is even a slight chance Lexi and Iyslander leave the meta as well, considering that both are very close to reaching LL. It is going to be an interesting meta game even if it's just Briar leaving, because Rosetta Thorn was a major part of what made Runeblade so good in general. Being able to consistently present 4 value with a single resource created a lot of above-value trades. Depending if Lexi will be gone or not, decks like Katsu, Fi, and Uzuri are going to be performing a lot better than they used to now that we are entering a slightly slower format of FAB with less on-hits. And the new Prism is far better balanced to be able to perform well in an iceless meta, which is a huge boon for the people around the world that love playing Prism. I'm not too worried about aggro decks running rampant like some people suggested, because full-on aggro decks tend to struggle quite a bit against Disruption Bravo variants, which coincidentally is an underdog hero in my opinion, even in the current format. If you want a good competitive deck in the upcoming CC meta, I highly suggest picking up your Bravo staples now that they are still cheap, because the deck will need things like tectonic plating going forward. We also seen a new Guardian Boots in the Round the Table kit, and while they do give a quicken token to the opponent, I don't think a Disruption Guardian cares about that. If the opponent doesn't block, they'll be losing anyway, so you can time your blocks with relative ease, and it basically means an extra 2 block that the deck previously did not have access to. In regards to the new ninja support, I'm happy to see that Crouching Tigers in particular are getting more cards. I think Crouching Tiger's reliance on multiple pieces lining up will continue to be a detriment to the deck, but like I have said in the past, including during my Tiger Swipe spoiler, it's great to see that multiple playstyles are becoming available for each hero. While that does make sideboarding more difficult when facing other heroes, like when we face off against Dash, I think on both a competitive and casual level it's good to have more than one playstyle so players can express themselves through their deck build. It is also cool that Bittering Thorns has gotten a red version. There you go, Runeblades. You asked for a new Thorn card to replace your Rosetta, and LSS answered. Jokes aside, the 2-block value associated with the card isn't great, but it shows us that LSS might print more colors of cards that only have 1. I doubt that Majestics will ever get an additional color strip, but just imagine a yellow Command and Conquer being a thing. The new Ninja Boots are a huge upgrade for Crouching Tigers. Not only does it give Ninja an additional card to block with thanks to the Battle Worn, it also makes the strategy more consistent. Even if you don't run Crouching Tigers, having this in Ira makes sure that you can present an additional attack to potentially trigger your Mask of Momentum. I think going forward, scouting is going to be quite important at events, though. Recently, I talked about this topic over on Twitter in regards to scouting practices at TCG events, because in my honest opinion, having information about your opponent's deck before you even sit down at the table is an unfair advantage. A lot of people seem to look at scouting as a normal practice, but I raised the question then. If it isn't an unfair advantage, why is it considered outside assistance if a player gets that information after the heroes are revealed from, let's say, a friend? I have read a lot of discussion threads from over 10 years ago where they tried to ban scouting in MTG events. I even saw a reference from Saffron Olive himself mentioning that you'd have people standing on chairs with binoculars to try and bypass restrictions, which is quite funny to me. I think it's needless to say that it's impossible to police scouting, so I think the next best option would be to allow players to look at their opponent's deck and sideboard prior to the game starting. It still gives those players that do scout a minor advantage because they can already plan how to play before sitting down at the table, but I think with transparency, it will shift the focus from feel-bad situations to skillful play. So if you are watching this LSS, this might be something to consider to have implemented in official play. Some of you might ask, why not just show your deck list? While that is an option, I think it'll create a mess with poorly written lists, or people losing lists and then delaying the event. so giving players 2 minutes to look at their opponent's deck prior to the game starting might just be more efficient, and also adds another layer of skill where players can count the number of copies of certain cards. Either way, I think we are moving into a new era of flesh and blood. Having the Living Legends format come out will bring in a horde of players that have quit after their hero reached Living Legend. We now have multiple formats in which players can express themselves. A solid casual product coming out in the form of Round the Table and PvE likely on the horizon. If there were any time for Flesh and Blood to bloom, I think it's this upcoming year, so as a community, let's support each other, teach new players, share the love for this game, and continue growing. In regards to myself, my wife is now almost 3 months pregnant, so it is going to be a turbulent few months since I'll have to find a place to move to. So if you'd like to support me on Patreon, you'll not only be supporting me, but also helping to safeguard a stable future for the child. Then again, I'm sure more than half my patrons have joined to feed my army of hamsters already. Thank you for watching, subscribe and like the video, and see you all soon in a karaoke-free environment.